Welcome to Chapter 4, Improving Your Sleep, one of my favorite topics, and something it seems like none of us really ever seem to get enough of. We always need and want more. Just 5 more minutes, right? In this section, we are going to learn about sleep, why our bodies need sleep to maintain both physical and psychosocial health. The section also explains what happens when we sleep. We're going to talk about REM and non-REM sleep and how much sleep a person really needs for optimal health and daily performance. And we're going to talk about strategies for sleep and for improving our sleep hygiene to improve our overall health. According to a recent study, only 10.6% of students reported getting sufficient amounts of sleep. Nearly 63% of students report feeling tired, dragged out, or sleepy 3 out of 7 days each week. Nearly 61% said they stay up late and get up early, resulting in sleep deprivation. That's a condition that occurs when sleep is insufficient for any given age. 20% of the U.S. population suffer from a condition known as excessive daytime sleepiness or excessive sleepiness. You know that feeling midday when you're just tired and a nap sounds amazing? 20% of all fatal car crashes are a result of drowsy driving, with those ages 16 to 24 more likely to be at the wheel. A lack of sleep leads to somnolence. It's a drowsiness, sluggishness, and lack of mental alertness that can affect daily performance. 35% of Americans do not routinely get the recommended amount of sleep, at least 7 hours. A drowsy driver's impairment equates to that of a drunk driver's, and drowsy driving was responsible for nearly 100,000 police-reported crashes, 71,000 injuries, and 1,500 deaths in the United States in 2015, and nearly $14 billion in losses. I think we need some more sleep. Our graph here depicts international sleep statistics, and in the blue, we see how much people are actually sleeping, and in the green, how much sleep people need. And you'll see that the U.S., we're ranked up there pretty high, with only getting about 6.5 hours of sleep, when truly we're needing a little over 7 hours. And that's really at bare minimum to be at that, remember that homeostasis we talked about? So that's that homeostasis level for sleep. There will be times when we need more, and this is for an adult. So children, specifically infants, need significantly larger amounts of sleep. So let's just make a quick note of this graph. And individuals your age, 18 to 25, 43.7% reported unintentionally falling asleep during the day at least once in the past month. 4.5% nodded off or fell asleep while driving in the last month. So it's really important to recognize those signs and what you can do to help yourself become a little bit more alert, a little bit more awake. And number 1 is getting more sleep. So why are we so sleep deprived? Well, there's a lot of contributing factors that lead up to that. And so some of it is shift work. And shift work is, you hear people say they're second shifters or third shifters. And people who work overnight, they're working against their own circadian rhythm or their own biological clock for sleep. And our body does not adjust to that very well. And it takes a couple of weeks for somebody to shift literally into shift work and to acclimate. And even when that happens, it's really going against what our body is built for. So it can be really, it induces sleep deprivation. Long haul driving. People who are like truck drivers, they have to keep logs and they are not allowed to drive over X amount of hours, and they have to log their sleep. And if they get pulled over, they have to be able to demonstrate or pull out those records saying, here, I've driven X amount and here's my sleep log. Drugs and medications can cause sleep deprivation for sure. When anybody takes a sleeping aid to go to sleep, it can help at night to go to sleep, depending on the sleep aid, but it can cause grogginess the next day. Pain can cause sleep deprivation if you're sleeping and you just can't get comfortable because you're in some pain. Sleep habits, including excessive screen time, smartphone use, etc. What happens is our brain, with that blue light that comes in, it doesn't allow our brain to shut off for an hour after that blue light has been shut off. So we don't just shut off the screen and then go right to sleep and then fall into a healthy sleep pattern. Most times, our brain needs a minute to kind of wind down, whether that's, the computer, shutting the computer, a TV, your cell phone, whatever that is. Gender contributes to this. Women experience more challenges due to hormonal changes, and men experience more sleep disorders. Sleep disorders, due to change in circadian rhythms. So as we get older, our circadian rhythm changes as well. You may have heard about melatonin. That begins to deplete as we get older, and our biological clock for sleep changes significantly. Sleep serves to maintain your physical health. It affects your ability to function effectively and enhances your intellectual, social, emotional, and psychological health in several ways. Sleep restores you both physically and mentally. Certain reparative chemicals are released. The brain is cleared of daily minutia, enhances ability to cope with daily challenges. Learning is synthesized, memories are consolidated, and it conserves body energy. When we sleep, our brain is processing all of our events of the day, and it's figuring out what it needs to remember and what it needs to toss out. And I would strongly encourage, if you're thinking that you need to stay up for an extra hour of studying for an exam tomorrow, you would be better off, research shows, getting an extra hour of sleep over that extra hour of study. That being said, having at least studied prior, right? You need that hour for your brain to store that information and to give it time to consolidate and process what it's learned. Sleep has beneficial effects on almost all of the body systems. It helps maintain your immune system. It helps reduce your risk of cardiovascular disease, contributes to a healthy metabolism, and helps regulate hunger. Short sleep increases the risk of type 2 diabetes. So if we're not sleeping long enough. Sleep may be a factor in reproductive health for males. Sleep contributes to neurological, mental, and cognitive functioning. Sleep improves motor tasks, particularly driving. And sleep plays a role in stress management and mental wellness. So your normal circadian rhythm is the 24-hour biological clock by which you are accustomed to going to sleep, waking up, and performing daily tasks. The hypothalamus and a tiny gland in your brain called the pineal body, which is responsible for the drowsiness-inducing hormone called melatonin, are key to these cyclical rhythms. There are two primary sleep states. REM sleep. It's a state in which rapid eye movement and dreams occur, and brainwave activity appears similar to that which when you are awake. Non-REM, it's a period of restful sleep with slow brain activity that is not characterized by the rapid eye movement. Throughout the night, non-REM sleep diminishes and REM sleep increases. Throughout the night, non-REM sleep diminishes and REM sleep increases. Throughout the night, you alternate through periods of NREM and REM sleep, repeating one full cycle about every 90 minutes. You spend about 75% of each night in NREM and 25% in REM sleep. So, sleeping too few hours could mean that you're depriving yourself primarily of essential REM sleep, which is what we really need to process all of the events of the day and to store that information. NREM sleep is restorative. The body rests during NREM. Body temperature is reduced and energy use drops. Sensations are dulled and heart rate, breathing, and brain waves all slow down. You do not typically dream during this state. And so this is why if we wake up in the midst of NREM, people will typically say, I didn't dream. When in fact, we dream multiple times throughout the night, but if we wake up during NREM, we won't typically remember. Four characteristic stages during NREM sleep are stage 1. This is the lightest stage of sleep, and that lasts only a few minutes. Stage 2, the eyes are closed, body movement slows, and you disengage from your environment. Stage 3 and 4, your brain generates slow delta waves, and blood pressure, heart rate, and respiration slow down. Human growth hormone is released, signaling the body to repair worn tissue. We truly need all of this restorative sleep throughout the night. REM sleep is energizing, and dreaming takes place primarily during REM sleep. The brain waves of a person during REM sleep are most undistinguishable from someone who is wide awake. Your brain wave activity is similar to that wakeful state, but your muscles are paralyzed, right? So your brain does something to turn off the signal to the body so that if you're having a dream that you're running, that you actually don't start running. It's a protective factor that the brain does, our magnificent brain. Deep phases of slow wave sleep consolidate the day's information, while REM sleep stabilizes that consolidated memory. So it's stabilizing it. It's really making those strong connections so that you remember the information that you learned throughout the day. Sleep patterns change greatly over a lifespan. When we're newborns, we need about 16 to 18 hours of sleep. And once we hit adulthood, we need about 7 to 8 hours each night. Sleep debt is the total number of hours missed sleep you're carrying around with you, right? Just like we will have school debt, our bank account debt, we also incur sleep debt. Some research shows you can catch up on sleep debt if you go about it sensibly. Naps cannot cancel out sleep debt, but can help improve mood, alertness, and performance. Sleep inertia is characterized by cognitive impairment, grogginess, queasiness, and disoriented feeling. And it can occur after 30 or more minutes of napping. So there's really, when we take naps, there's really a sweet spot for taking them. And they can't be too short and they can't be too long. Regular naps may also improve immune function and help ward off infections. It's typically best to nap early to mid-afternoon. Never in the late afternoon because it could interfere with your ability to fall asleep at night. And remember, keeping those naps short. There's also the rare short sleeper. Perhaps fewer than 1% of people seem to thrive on less than 6 hours of sleep per night, right? I hear it a lot from people. They're like, oh, I'm good on 4 hours. I'm good on 3 hours. Fewer than 1% of people actually are. And so there's a specific possible gene that may account for that. So really good sleep hygiene and being mindful of your sleep is really, really important. 70 million U.S. adults suffer from sleep-related disorders. During a sleep study, sensors and electrodes record data that will be reviewed by a sleep specialist to determine the precise nature of a sleep problem. It is really important to keep a sleep diary if you suspect sleep problems are going on. Nearly 29% of students say they have had difficulty sleeping in the last year that were traumatic or difficult to handle. 2.5% have diagnosed sleep disorders other than insomnia. And it's important to talk to a healthcare professional if you really believe you have a sleep disorder. So here is a sample of a sleep diary. I use this a lot with clients when we're working with insomnia. And just being mindful of bedtime, wake time, the time you fell asleep. This can actually have some counterproductive effects too, unless you have like one of those biofeedback devices. A lot of smartwatches now will track your sleep, how often you've woken up, what time you actually fell asleep. So also paying attention to your exercise, your naps, how much caffeine and when, not having it too close to bedtime. Alcohol has a significant impact on sleep. When we eat, our medications, our emotions also. And what activities are we doing before bed, right? So good sleep hygiene is really important, and we'll talk more about that. So insomnia is one of the most common sleep disorders, and it is characterized by difficulty falling asleep, frequent arousals during sleep, or early morning waking. It's the most common sleep complaint. 68% of young adults aged 18 to 29 report symptoms of insomnia. About 10 to 15% of Americans have chronic insomnia that lasts more than a month. And nearly 21% of students report that sleep difficulties are affecting their academic performance. But only about 5% report having been treated for insomnia. Most just go it alone. And we're going to do some exercises this week too to kind of help some sleep disturbances. So symptoms of insomnia include difficulty falling asleep, waking up frequently during the night, difficulty returning to sleep, waking up too early in the morning, unrefreshing sleep, daytime sleepiness, trouble focusing, and irritability. Insomnia can be related to stress and worry, to disruptions in circadian rhythms, and is a side effect of taking certain medications. There is a treatment for insomnia. Cognitive behavior therapy, CBT, is one of the first line defenses for people with insomnia. And it helps, so CBT, cognitive behavior, it works on how our thoughts and feelings affect our behaviors and how our behaviors affect our thoughts and feelings. Hypnotic or sedative medications may be prescribed. Relaxation techniques, yoga, deep breathing, meditation can all be very, very useful and helps to promote deeper sleep. So sleep apnea is a disorder in which breathing is briefly and repeatedly interrupted during sleep. Breathing pauses last at least 10 seconds. Central sleep apnea occurs when the brain fails to tell the respiratory system to initiate breathing. And this actually happens when people overdose with substance use. Not only, but it's common. Obstructive sleep apnea is more common and occurs when air cannot move in and out of a person's nose or mouth. Risk factors include being overweight, smoking, alcohol use, being over 40, and ethnicity. Anatomical risk factors include a small upper airway, a recessed chin, small jaw or large overbite, and a large neck. Genetics also play a role in sleep apnea. The most commonly prescribed treatment is continuous positive airway pressure, or a CPAP, which consists of an airflow device going over the face. Long tube and mask is worn during sleep. They're getting a little bit less obtrusive. They just have some that just go very small into the airway in the nose. The FDA also recently approved implantable upper airway stimulator called Inspire. And so the implantable, it's in there to help stimulate the airways. Other methods include dental appliances and surgery to remove tissue in the upper airway. Lifestyle changes like losing weight, avoiding alcohol, and quitting smoking are always ways to help reduce those symptoms. RLS, restless leg syndrome, is a neurological disorder characterized by unpleasant sensations in the legs when at rest, with an uncontrollable urge to move in an effort to relieve these feelings. Symptoms range from uncomfortable pain, and really the cause of RLS is unknown. So it could feel like burning, creeping, or tugging, or like insects are crawling inside the leg. A family history is seen in approximately 50% of the cases, and it also appears to be related to other conditions, including Parkinson's, kidney failure, diabetes, peripheral neuropathy, and anemia. Treatment options include use of prescribed medications, decreasing tobacco and alcohol use, applying heat to the legs. For some, practicing relaxation techniques or performing stretching exercises can help to alleviate the symptoms. Narcolepsy is a neurological disorder caused by the brain's inability to properly regulate sleep wake cycles, resulting in excessive intrusive sleepiness and daytime sleep attacks. It occurs in about 1 of every 3,000 people. Symptoms are characterized by overwhelming and uncontrollable sleepiness during the day. People literally fall asleep. Sleep attacks can last from a few seconds to a few minutes. Their symptoms include sudden loss of voluntary muscle tone, called cataplexy, hallucinations during sleep or upon waking, and brief episodes of paralysis during sleep-wake transitions. So there is something else called sleep paralysis, and it doesn't mean that you're narcoleptic if you've experienced sleep paralysis. And I won't get too much into that, but if anybody has questions about that, we can talk about that in our in-class discussion. It appears to be caused by a deficiency of sleep regulating chemicals in the brain, and there's also a genetic basis for the disorder. So treatment includes medications to improve alertness, and antidepressants to treat the cataplexy. Behavioral therapy and lifestyle changes may also be. There are some other parasomnias, and some of the most common are circadian rhythm disorder. Just our circadian rhythm, our biological sleep for, or our biological clock for sleep is just, it cannot get regulated. Sleep phase disorder. sleep-related eating disorder, eating while sleeping and not even realizing it, sleepwalking, night terrors, which are different than nightmares, sexsomnia, bedwetting, and snoring, all sleep disorders. So here are some really good tips for getting a good night's sleep. Create a sleep-promoting environment. I very much encourage people to have their bedroom be kind of like a sanctuary where you sleep. Limit electronics if possible. Your bedroom is your place for sleep, your sleep sanctuary. So other tips: chill. Turn the thermostat down to 65 degrees. We sleep better in cooler environments. Create a sleep cave. Keep your bedroom quiet, cool, dark. Turn off your computer. Turn off your cell phone. I even encourage people to leave their cell phone at the door. I also encourage people, if they have an alarm clock, to turn their alarm clock away from them so they can't turn and look and create what's called sleep anxiety with the, oh my gosh, it's 9:59. If I go to sleep now, I can have X amount of hours. Oh my gosh, now it's 10:59. Now it's 11:59. And just keep looking at the clock, and that creates actually sleep anxiety. So condition yourself to sleep better. I know when I walk into my bedroom, it's time for sleep, right? My body already starts preparing itself. Make your bedroom your mental escape. Just like I said, your sanctuary. Establishing bedtime and wake rituals. Do the same things every night. Your body starts getting prepared to go to bed. Same thing in the morning. Your body is getting prepared for the day. Go to bed when you're tired. How many times have we fought to stay awake because I want to watch 5 more minutes of this show? And then you miss it because you've fallen asleep anyway. Go to bed. You can hit pause. You can watch it later. Don't toss and turn. I think that's a lot easier said than done. But they do have those weighted blankets that can be very beneficial for that. And that helps us to have a more restful sleep. Don't take non-prescribed sleeping pills or nighttime pain medications because you will be disrupting your circadian rhythm for sleep, your biological clock for sleep. And also over-the-counter melatonin. I will tell you more about that in class, but I did sleep research at Northwestern Medical School for many years. And there's a method to taking melatonin, and it's not just pop it and you fall asleep 20 minutes later. So really being mindful of what your sleep routine is. Just as much as our nighttime habits matter, our daytime habits can be beneficial for creating better sleep. And so if we seek natural light and other light options to help regulate our melatonin, sometimes that is a struggle in the industrial area that we live in. Most people in the area, because of the pollution that we have decreased vitamin D levels, and which is actually affects seasonal affective disorder. Exercising in the morning or afternoon rather than in the evening. Eating a healthy diet 3 to 4 hours before bedtime. Avoid heavy meals. Avoid afternoon or evening caffeine. Super important. Avoiding nicotine, alcohol, and liquids before bed. All are going to play a role in how you're sleeping. Turning off screens and removing them from the bedroom. I think I already said that. Avoid conflict or emotional disturbances before bedtime, because all of those things, the screens, the conflict, the emotional disturbances, those are turning our brain on, right? The nicotine, the alcohol, those are stimulants for our brain. The nicotine and caffeine are. Alcohol is a depressant. So just being really mindful of being well-rounded, well-rested, encouraging good sleep hygiene. And I really want you to think about what your sleep hygiene looks like. And I can't wait to talk to you about that more in class on Thursday. So until then, sleep well, get some rest, and I'll see y'all soon.